Okay then, so an up close look at the board, and when we bring it in, the first thing that I noticed was your eyes do get drawn into the M.2 shield, and then you always then look above to see where the other one is. But there is a third one as well, so you can have 3 M.2s on here as you want. The middle one does support SATA, but most of them are all PCI Express now. It's only really the cheaper ones that you're going to need to watch and look out for. There are a lot of lights on the board, all these little white ones, which we'll show you in a sec. These little traces, a bit tronified, they all light up. They've got one down here, but some of the cool ones that are on here is if I flick the board round, there are hidden underneath the dim slots here. You can see the 4 little LEDs, and they light up when you have the memory attached. So if it doesn't light up, then it could just mean that you've got a bad contact. When we do talk about fans and stuff, you've got the CPU fan header here, then you've got a pump fan here, and then you've got one, I'm just going to have to count through, 2, 3, 4 other ones. The 4 that I just counted out for you there are their system fans, and I'll talk to you about that in the software. You do have some lights that light up down here which show you your boot light, so if you do get a hang, this can help you diagnose it. But you've also got up here, you've got a PCI poster, so that'll give you a code anyway. You do also get some voltage out points here so that you can check the CPU, the GPU, the memory, the VCCSA, VCCIO and the PCIH volts up here. So it is still got a little higher end overclocking nature kind of attitude going on with it. You do get a USB 3.1 out on board. Nice right angled USB 3 out on the board as well. There's another one down here that you can see, but you do get 2 USB 2s down the bottom as well. Down the bottom also you get a power and a reset. You do get this overclock switch so that you can manually, automatically with a flick of a switch overclock your CPU. But what I will say is when you use this, they've got profiles that are set up. They're not tailored exactly for your CPU because each CPU can be very different. So what they essentially have got with this is they're almost set for the worst possible CPU, so a real dog horrible CPU. So for the majority of you guys out there, this will end up overvolting your CPU so much more, which could mean more heat, it could mean more noise, and it could also mean that your CPU might not last as long in the long run. So I would use this as maybe like a basis for you learning, but I personally don't think these are good for long-term use, but you know, it's up to you, it's your system. There's plenty of power phases going round underneath the heat sinks at the top. Ample, I mean, look at it, it's absolutely rammed. If we count the chokes here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there's 11 there in total. The thing I like about the new MSI boards is they've got the support around the memory, but rather than it being 4 individual ones, this is just one giant one. So all the lines are quite smooth, which I quite like. It does follow suit around the 3 main PCI Express 16 slots. Just so that you know though, if you want to run Crossfire or SLI, you need to use that one and that one. This one at the bottom is actually allocated to PCI Express lanes on a chipset. So that's another one to kind of keep in mind. Also, the very bottom one can end up sacrificing lanes for SATA 5 and 6 over here. It's all to do with the way that the block diagram and stuff works, and I don't want to confuse you with it. I have covered it in the past. When we go round the back, round the back is probably the bit I think is most lacking, because we've got, this is your BIOS flashback. Yeah, it's a very, very familiar name. I'm surprised that they didn't bother to give it their own kind of name. Anyway, we get a PS2, 2 USB 2s, we've got 2 USB 3s, and then these are an A and a C 3.1. So I don't think that there's a great deal of connectivity around the back. Yes, we've got HDMI, and yes, you've got DisplayPort, but you could have easily had a big stack of PCI Express 3s or something there. And it just seems to be a bit of a waste. I mean, the header for the BIOS flashback, they could have used that one and it could have doubled up. And this is a CMOS clear, which again could have been on the inside, or they could have hidden it further down, spaced them out better. I don't know. It just, I just think it's a bad use of the space that's there. The actual board aesthetics, though, I really, really like this. I mean, I can't help but thinking, go and have a look at the MSI laptops. They're gaming laptops. This design here feels like it was literally taken straight off the back cover. You know, the monitor panel. So on the other side of the monitor panel, this just feels like it was taken straight off of the back of one of their gaming laptops, and I really like it. The fact that they've gone all grey and silver, that kind of seems to be the trait for this generation, and obviously it does work because you've got some RGBs on there, so you can select your colours, and it means that any other components kind of fit in. So I really like that. So yeah, there's nothing going on special around the back. We've got nothing hidden. There's no brackets or anything. All the business stuff is on the front, and I do think it looks really pretty. Okay, so a quick look at the LEDs, and yes, this isn't an activated version of Windows. Every time we change motherboards, they seem to get blitzed. So this is just one that I just use for basic stuff like showing you. It also means that this is a version of Windows that I reinstall relatively often as well. But anyway, we're going off topic. So we are in the MSI Gaming app, and I've hit the LED button so that we've got the LEDs. Now, a lot of people do ask, so straight away we can turn the lights off altogether. But then the LED effects, they are on or off. Styles, you have breathing, flashing, things like that. But it's there is no way that you can kind of go between the colours. So you set yourself a colour here, and then that's it. So if you're one of those people that might want it fading from red to blue or something like that, there is no option for you to be able to do that at all. You've kind of got the flashing modes and then a fixed colour. The extended, I'm not sure why it's, oh, it's me, sorry. With the extended LED effects, you can have it set to music or your CPU temperature. So we're in green at the moment because it's not under any specific load. But that's really it. And then beyond that, you've got white, you've got this purpley sort of colour. There is a blue, there is a light blue, kind of a sky blue. You've got a green, which is there. You've got a yellow, which is probably about as close as you're going to be able to get to the NVIDIA colour, by the way. So the yellow actually comes out a rough NVIDIA green, in case you're wondering, and then the red, which it comes with out of the box. You can't turn specific LED zones on or off. It's pretty much all the lights are on one colour, or they're kind of flashing. And the only other kind of annoying thing, it may be for some people, it might not be for others, is things like the lights down at the bottom for the buttons. They are red. There's a red LED there, and then there are red LEDs up on the DRAM. Now they light up when the DRAM is fitted properly. We've only got two showing, so that's kind of cool. And then you've got that red LED there. They do not change with the lights, because you can see the lights at the moment are white. I'm just going to flick them to green, and all of the other ones have gone red. So you do have options, but I can't help but feeling that there's slightly limited options for the lights that are on the board. The only other little thing, and it's nothing to do with MSI, and it really is just to do with the way RGBs work, and that is when you zoom right in on the chipset heatsink, you can pick up the individual colours coming out, and that is literally just the way RGBs are. But because of the way the heatsink is designed, you get the little shadows of them coming out. It's the only place where it's noticeable, though. If it's something that really might like annoy you, then I'd suggest, maybe you pick a different colour or pick a different board. But all of the other ones, when you zoom in, they all actually look very kind of cool and Tron. I'm not picking up any other kind of like dodgy red fades or anything like that. They are a little bit on the blue side, but other than that, like I said, they are very Tron. And I do think that they're quite cool. I'm quite a fan, to be fair. I do think that the lights do look really nice. The other thing that is quite cool is if you run external RGBs and stuff, it will get picked up in the software, and you can actually tune them as well. So because sometimes the red, green and blue wires are round different ways depending on what kit you get, because there is no standard, you can actually set them up so that they'll work with pretty much anything on this, which is very cool. It means it doesn't matter whether you get a cable mod kit, or maybe you'll get one from one of the other big brands, or even a cheap set from Amazon or something like that. Maybe you want to plug them in so that your desk lights match your PC, because you could do that if you wanted to mess around with the wiring. You can actually set them up so that they all work and the colours tune in properly as well. So I think that's quite cool. It's about time people started doing that. Okay, so the only other thing that's still griping me, and it was with one of the early boards I did, I think it was the gaming carbon I did before launch, and I thought back then it might have been a glitch with the software, but it's still there, so I'm going to bring it up. If you use one of the system fans, so you've got the system fans are pretty much everything other than the ones that are at the top of the board. At the top of the board you've got the CPU fan 1, and then you've got the pump fan, and then you've got system fan 1 here, 2, 3 and then 4 up here. Randomly, I've got mine connected into what's marked on the motherboard as being number 4, but in the software it reads sysfan 3. But the annoying thing is you cannot turn it below 50%. So the fans at the moment are running at 50%. In the smart mode, it's the same. I cannot drag it down past 50%, and you'll see I'm right at the bottom of the graph. Can't go below 50%, and I have run the little fan tuning option as well. It's the same thing, it literally won't let me go in and change it any further. In the CPU fan it's fine, you can take it right down, you know, really low if you want. You can see here that the fans are only running 391 RPMs, which is really quite low. But then when we go on to the system fan, you can see if we go system fan 3, I'm down as low as I can go, and it's running at 1100 RPM, which, to be honest with you, is really annoying if you want a quiet rig. And that's what I had to do when I was like doing the setups and stuff, because they literally do just spin at 1100 RPM all the time. And the front fans or anything connected to the chassis fans or whatever they call them, the system fans, they just run too quick. And this is something in the software that does need fixing quite quickly, because there's no reason why you should be fixing this at 1000 RPM or 50% fan speeds. There are going to be some people out there with like super duper turbo fans. I mean, because we've got the fan tune, you'd think that they would be able to find the minimum RPM, which I know on these fans, you can start them up and consistently run them at below 400 RPM. So they could be really, really quiet. Yeah, I'm being fixed at 1100, and I think it's just a bit woo. To the point where if you're thinking about getting this board and this is going to drive you nuts, what I would suggest is literally the two fans I've got, I really need to change my tripod. These two fans here, I've actually got on a PWM splitter, and they're running fine. And the back fan is running on the actual pump fan, because it was the only way I could get it quiet. Now, I would be inclined to maybe get yourself a PWM hub, so it's powered and it will take a feed from the CPU fan and just run it from that. But the actual, until they fix the software, the actual system fan headers, I think, unless you want your rig running a little bit noisier and you're happy with that and you're happy with lower temperatures, then I would actually say personally, from a silence point of view, that this is, you know, totally daft. I normally have, because I have maglevs in my own rig, I normally have mine running at about 500 RPM for the desktop, especially when you've got an AIO or a decent CPU cooler. You don't need loads of air kind of pummeling through, and it does just spoil the experience a little bit, let down by some rather strange choices within the software. Okay, quick look in the BIOS, and I just want to show you something just quickly. We're at total stock in the BIOS, absolute total stock. As you can see, do you know what I mean? Everything's kind of at stock up here, 4.2 gigahertz, 2133 memory, but the main thing I want to draw your attention to is the system agent voltage here, auto, and it's showing 1.072. CPU I/O voltage here, I'm going to call it the VCC-IO. All boards kind of call it a slightly different thing, but anyway. So the CPU IO voltage here, 0.96 volt, also auto. Everything is on auto. All I'm going to do is come down to here and I'm going to select XMP. We've got a 3866 megahertz kit in here. We know it works with the board. We've used it many times. Lovely. Going to press F10 and we're going to go out. So F10 means we've saved the BIOS. I want to walk you through this so that you can see I'm doing this live and you can see I've not changed anything. When the board boots again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight back into the BIOS. It is coming. Okay, in the BIOS, up here, 4.2 gigahertz again. Memory is now 3866 megahertz. Lovely, yes, but we have a slight problem. And this is, if you have a look down here, system agent voltage is now 1.44 volts and our IO volts are 1.416. Now, just to prove a point, what I'm going to do, you can see that we're still on auto, but I'm going to put 1.44 in manually. You can see it's gone bright red. I'm also going to put 1.416 in here. 1.410, you can see that they've gone red. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it down. So we're going to go 1.4. Is it still red? Yes. 1.35. Is it still red? Yes. 1.3. Still red. 1.25. Still red. 1.2. Now we've finally gone back. So if we work our way up, anything above 1.2, it goes bright red. Yet, manual volts, it was putting 1.44 in. I have seen this do 1.46. But the one thing I will say is this, because when you have it on auto, it's all just white and you don't pay any attention to it. And there are a lot of people out there that are beginners or don't play around in their BIOS. They're going to think this is safe. It's really not. What you need to do is, if you're running very high speed memory, which is going to be a very limited amount of you, but I would say anything above 3200, you should go through a process where you do one at a time. You'll see it says 1.44. What I would do is I just put 1.44 in manually. Go into Windows, make sure it's stable, run OCCT or something, come back into the BIOS, and then I would run it 1.4. Check that. Again, 30 minutes OCCT, then you can try 1.35. Keep turning it down until you find a point where it's not stable, and then you go back up one notch. Work that through, do it one at a time, then you can try this one, find the lowest possible volts that you'll be able to get it in. I've tried with a few different CPUs here because I've got i3s, i5s and i7s, and they are all different. I've now got two 7700Ks, and actually they are both slightly different. This is the better one, the worst one that I've got. And I have been able to get these around the 1.2, 1.25 mark. But you need to do it for your own CPU. You can't use my settings. You need to work it down gradually, because also you'll learn a little bit more about your system. It's quite time consuming, but it's something nice that you can do to make sure that your system's going to be running at its absolute best. But for any high-speed memory, you really do need to get those into check. All of the brands are doing this to some degree at the moment with big overvolts. Although at the moment, MSI do get the crown for the sheer height and the amount that they're putting through. Most of the other brands are well below 1.4 for 3866. To put it into context, with the amount of volts for this 3866 kit on the MSI board, it needs the same amount of volts that I can get a 4266 megahertz kit running on one of the other brands. So at the moment they do need to get this sorted in the BIOS. Also, with the game boost, when you use that, you think it's a lovely dial and you can just turn it up. Now, it is quite good for being quite simple, and you just click it and you're overclocked. But the problem is they have to do that for the widest range of CPUs. So they're pretty much set up for absolute dog CPUs, in that they're putting loads more volts through than is really needed. I will be doing a overclocking guide. But, if you're a beginner and stuff and you're a bit worried, then, fine, you can use these things. But if you value your rig and you want them to last a decent amount of time, and most critically, when they put too many volts through, that means you're going to be getting really high temps. If you want lower temps, that you can either have a quieter rig or maybe not have to spend an immense amount of money on a massive AIO or something, then that's when you need to be going up and doing it manually, because, oh actually it's just here, the CPU core voltage, auto does not mean stock. It will be changing it around. The one good thing I've got to say about the MSI BIOS is at stock 4.2 gigahertz. You can see down here. At idle, it's only putting 1.171 volts through. When you put load on, it can go up a little bit. And the other thing that I've noticed with, where is it? Where's the CPU advanced DRAM? Well, I'm just going to find it. Digital power. Okay, so the load line calibration, basically what the load line calibration does, from my testing, is you've got it here. It used to be, when you turned it on, number 8 would be the absolute maximum volts that it puts through. Well, they've done it back to front, and you do have to look on the graph over here. And 1 is maximum, 8 is absolutely no overvolt at all. But what a load line calibration is meant to do is level out your volts. So you don't get any spikes, and you don't get any dips, you don't get any V-droop. Well, pretty much at the moment, the MSI load line calibration just puts more volts into your CPU, and then when you put it under load, it drops back down. So when you're sitting at idle, it's having loads more volts than it needs, and then when you put it under load, the voltage drops down and droops back down. So the load line calibration at the moment doesn't work at all. And that's in my testing. I tested mine with mode 3 and 4, and to get it at the right voltage under load for 1.35 volts, at the desktop it was actually an idle, it was running at 1.38, and then the second I put it under load it dropped back down to 1.35, which was what I had actually set it to in the BIOS. So at the moment, the load line calibration in the BIOS, or load line calibration at all, I don't particularly think it's working very well at all. Now, I know we're on the wonky donkey, but bear with me. So 1.363 volts. It's actually set to 1.35 in the BIOS with a load line calibration setting of number 3. And if we put it under load, just quickly, you can see I've just hit it there. The graph up here is just starting to peak and go up. Watch the V core here. It's gone down to 354. There you go, 354. Now on level 4, as you've seen, it always goes to 1.36, so there's always an overvolt. Then it drops back down to still a little bit more than what I decided I wanted it at 1.354. Now I know what you're saying, you just need to turn it down a bit, but it's actually up a bit because we're on number 3. We actually need to turn it down to number 4. But if I turn it down to number 4, so you can see here, mode 3 is actually a slight higher overvolt. So what we need to do is turn it down to number 4, and you can see we should just have a dead level voltage now. That's what it says in the BIOS. Okay, so we're back into the OS, and you can see that we're 1.363. Sometimes it's going down to 1.35 because I've got EIST turned off. So we're looking for static volts because this is how we test the voltage, basically, how good the voltages are on the board. Having them dancing around all over the place just hides lots of problems. So when we put the load back on again, you can see that it's gone down to 1.54. 1.44, but we've still got the load going up. We're not at 100% load on the CPU at the moment. But keep an eye on this voltage here. Right, now we've gone down to 1.334. So we were at 1.36, 1.364, now we're on 1.334. So there's a lot of droops difference there, and literally if you keep an eye on this number again, I'll just zoom you in so that you can see. Okay, so yes, I'm moving the camera, but keep an eye on this voltage, keep an eye on this voltage, and I'm literally just going to turn the load off. Okay, see, straight back up to 1.363. So I would say that the fact it's overvolting continuously and then still does droop back down, but sometimes it's a lot worse than others. I'd actually go as far as to say that the load line calibration isn't working very well, because what I would like to see is it being around 1.35. I would go like a 0.5 either way, so maybe 1.355 and then maybe down to 1.345. But going down, you know, right down to 1.33 and right up to 1.365, that's a little bit too slack, and they definitely do need to get that under control. Now, you know, if you're not going to overclock, or you're not planning on massively like playing with your overclocks, and you don't care about this sort of stuff, then obviously you can just ignore what I say. But my job is to tell you about this stuff before you've spent lots of money and then end up coming back to me going, Tom, why didn't you tell me about this stuff? So I'm just trying to help you out here. Yes, I know it's a lot of details. A lot of people just don't care, but then that's, you know, I'm trying to make sure I give the people that do care the information that they needed. Okay then, so on to the technical side of things. Performance and the overclocking. We've already kind of gone through some of the things with the memory. So we did manage to get 5.1 gigahertz quite easily. And as I said, I did manage to get 4,000 with the memory, but we couldn't get it 100% stable. Even when I left the volts alone, when I changed it, so we ended up going down to 3866. Good thing with that is the 3866 memory, as you'll see when I show you the performance results in a bit, did work quite well, and it did correlate quite well into the rest of the tests. So overclocking was fairly easy. You just need to, as I've already said, you do just need to make sure that if you use high-speed memory, I would say anything above 3200, you make sure that you go in and you manually set your VCC IO and your system agent voltage. If you can do that and you're able to do that, then you should be fine. If you're auto overclocking, or you're just going to XMP fast memory and leave a stock CPU, I maybe ask around on some forums like the OC3D forums, or ask one of your friends to come in and help you manually set them, just for peace of mind. So we've got some tests that I'm going to show you here today, but you can go and see the full batch of tests on the OC3D website. There's a card that will be popping up, or it already has popped up, and there will be a manual link underneath as well. We can go and have a look at all of the tests. But the first one that I'm going to show you is PC Mark 8. PC Mark 8, just to kind of show you that, you know, we did manage to get the memory all playing nice, and, you know, manually setting things can actually help you quite well. PC Mark 8, it was the top of the graph. Absolute top. Everything that we've tested before, it beat that. So lovely jubbly. Don't really need to say a lot more other than. Then Cinebench R15. It did relatively well with this. There are a few above it, but there's no kind of shock. But if you have a look, the difference between the ones that are at the top and at the bottom, it's in 4th place, and the 3rd place and 2nd place, if you have a look, there's like 3 points between them. I could probably, with that test, rerun it a few times to try and find a better one that might pop out of it. You know, literally sit there and run it and run it again, because those kind of like very small tolerance numbers can just literally be a run tolerance. So that is a very, very healthy test to be in the, anything in this kind of top 5 there is great. And then when we move on to the memory performance, like I said, I wanted to draw specific attention to this, because when you look at it in this graph, again, it's 4th place. You're like, oh, it's 4th place, but everything above it has only got 2 DIMM slots, and with incredibly high speed memory, it does make a difference. So the fact that this is the top of the 4 it's dual channel, but you know, you've got 4 memory slots there, so you can get 4 sticks of memory in. To be at the top of those is actually a really good thing. Now, one thing that could have got even better if we'd managed to get 4,000 megahertz memory running properly. But obviously we didn't. So, you know, we could just say with this, yes, 3,866 might not be the fastest rated, you know, speed memory that we've had running or tested, but it's clearly done incredibly well with 3866. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. The only reason why we're bringing so much attention on higher speeds is it is something at the moment which is different between all of the boards. So it does give us something to talk about. But like I said, memory performance, when it was in, it did really, really well. And the only thing, like I said, is we did have to make sure that we brought voltages in to check. So performance, quick, done, out the way. Conclusion, my thoughts on the board are, and I do genuinely really like the look of this board. It's one of those ones where when I first saw it, I was like, ooh. And I would go as far as to say, I think this is probably the nicest one that they've done since the old Dragon heatsinks. And now I really like those. They were a bit Marmite though. A lot of people did, a lot of people didn't. I think these bits down here on this board are probably going to be Marmite as well. But I do think they've done an incredibly good job of it. We've picked up on a couple of the BIOS problems with the board, and I hope you don't think I've drawn too much attention to it. But they are just some very small things that if you know your way around the BIOS or you know your way around your kit, you can tune your stuff to get around it. The reason why I did feel that I had to bring it to attention is for those of you that might not have looked at it, you know what you're doing, but you might not have looked for it. Those of you, it will be a little bit of a warning sign that you need to get it into check. Those of you that don't know, necessarily how to get in there and do it, might be the kind of green light for you to go in and learn, which can also be a really, really good thing for you going forward. But hopefully MSI will be able to tighten things up a little bit more, because they do seem to be the worst of the bunch when it does come to the system agent voltage and the VCC I/O at the moment. Now I don't know whether that is a BIOS engineer problem or whether it is a hardware problem, but I obviously try and test as many boards as I possibly can do, and like I do have a lot of test rigs on the go at the moment. Like for argument's sake, we've got 2 of the Gigabyte boards going constantly round at the moment with BIOS updates and stuff. So I do get, you may not see them all on video, but I do get to have a play with a lot of this stuff. So when I pick up on stuff like this, it's not just because I'm trying to be a pain in the rectum, it's because it's something that I've genuinely noticed needs to happen. Now what you also need to be aware of is I have spoken to my MSI guy and had multiple emails about this problem that I spotted since December. So the fact I've gone into more detail with it on this one, showed you BIOS and all that sort of stuff, is because I'm still kind of here, at least 2 months later going, you do need to sort it out now. Really, it's not quite right. But anyway, so if you do get it if you do get manual with it and you get past that kind of V-droop thing, which it does have, and you ignore those factors, the performance that comes from it once you have manually set certain factors is actually very, very strong. And it's a really, really nice thing to see it. It's just a shame that the auto side of it, it can't kind of sort itself out that well. So for an overclocker, it's one of those ones where you will get the best out of it from tweaking it, or at least you'll get better longevity out of it from tweaking it. But other than those few things, which I seem to have spent quite a lot of time talking about, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It looks really nice. When manually set, it goes really well. You can get some very, very good performance out of it. I suppose the only negative things really that I can say about it is the lighting side of it. It's the lighting control is basic. There's no way to fade colours or anything like that. But from what I've seen, most people tend to have one colour anyway, so it might not matter. But for me, using it, the most annoying thing was the sys fans minimum being 50%, and I've never been able to work out why it doesn't go below 50%, and it does my head in. So if you want a quiet rig, as I said before, get yourself a PWM hub or something like that, or maybe an external fan controller, that you have in the front of your case or hidden somewhere, just so that you can get control of your fans better that way. Because at the moment, these ones round here, I would go as far as to say they're pretty. If you want really quiet, they're unusable, and you'll need to look for other options. So if it hadn't have had the fan problems still there, and the BIOS didn't have that droop, and the VCC I/O and system agent weren't so much of a bit of a flag, we probably would have given it the OC3D Enthusiast Award. But specifically, those kind of little problems have made me then mark it down. So we've given it in the end OC3D Approved. it should definitely be a a contender, and OC3D approved means that it should be in your shortlist of possible options. Because around this price point, there are other options and there are other boards that won't have those finicky problems. If they get it finished, or they get those problems sorted out, then it's 100% going to get the OC3D Enthusiast Award. And if they do fix it, I may even go back, check it, and then update the award. But for now, it just doesn't feel, even so late, like 6 weeks after launch, it still does kind of feel that it's just not quite finished yet. But the thing that I have to stress is it may not be quite finished yet, but if you're one of those guys that doesn't mind getting in the BIOS, having a tweak, having a fiddle, getting things set up, and you're willing to get yourself a PWM's hub or something to be able to quiet your rig down, it is worth your money. But if you want all these fan headers on your board and you want to use really high speed memory and you don't particularly want to have to mess around with things too much because you're a bit afraid and you don't want to get involved with all that stuff, and if that's one of you, then it sadly would be one to give a miss to. And it's kind of one where I am a bit kind of torn with it as well, because it does, I really wanted this to just be epic and be a total bat out of the park. And whereas the performance is there, it's just those other little things that just don't seem right. And to me, they're little basic things that shouldn't have been that hard to have fixed. And yet, like I said, 8 weeks after I've said about it the first time, they don't seem to have been fixed yet. So I'm going to leave you with that. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. I would love to know your thoughts on, kind of where we've gone with this and our angle on this. Does it matter to you? Would it be something that would put you off? Do you not care and you're just going to get in there and you're going to get manual with it anyway? I would love to know your thoughts on it. Have you already bought it? Are you regretting it? Have you already bought it and you love it and you've worked past those issues? They're all things we would love to hear about underneath and on the OC3D forums. But before I choke or lose my voice, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.